Yo, good morning, everybody. Good morning, everyone. How are y'all all doing? We're continuing on. This what's it called? This series basically of doing the Old and the New Testament, reading it, breaking it down, giving my perspective on it, hearing your guys' perspective on it. The one thing though that we're doing differently is this video. I'm actually gonna do both of them in one because usually I'll do one and then do the other one like right off the bat. But it's like why not just do one big one? So I think I'm gonna start doing like the first hour of the Old Testament, the second hour of the New, the first hour of the Old, the second hour of the New. So the videos will be like about 2 hours long, but it's gonna be solid. Like there's gonna be a lot to cover in those 2 hours. So the whole first hour will mostly be the old. The second hour, which is should be the halfway mark, will be the new. And yeah, that's basically how we're gonna run it for now. Let's see if I can crack these windows down a bit more. But yeah, so some things I want to correct though about what I said in the one video because I was talking about like because I always do this. I'll definitely correct myself. I always say when I'm wrong or when I'm not wrong and this and that, yada yada yada. But where I think I was wrong was I was saying like that um the Jewish people in some ways may have some things misinterpreted or may be wrong about some things. And again, it's all interpretation. So who am I to say that they're wrong or they're right with that interpretation? But based off my interpretation, like because it mentions when we're talking about like Shabbat, it mentions no work being done and stuff like that, and that's what I was kind of covering. Turning your lights on and stuff. It's not really considered work, but the reason why they say don't use lights is because it says that you shouldn't kindle a fire. But when you're taking that literally, meaning like, oh, don't make a fire, no light. It's like, well, but I can't see anything. But when you take it from a metaphorical understanding, like, do not kindle a fire in the sense of because kindling a fire didn't just mean don't make a fire, don't have light. It meant like don't start something new. Don't begin working on a project or begin something new on the day of rest until after your day is done, until after you rested, until after you gave praise, you rested, you enjoyed this day off. Then begin something new. Don't start something new on the day and then you're not even gonna be able to finish it. Don't kindle a fire basically. So it's all about again interpretation, but some interpretations, even if they may seem a bit more right, sometimes when taken to the extreme level of things, like they just lead to people using it more harmfully than good in certain ways. But again, that's just my perspective on it. If you want to kind of hear more about what that's supposed to kind of be. Oh no, my phone. What's it called? Yeah, if you want to hear a bit more about like what that's kind of talking about, what I'm covering there, I think the last video or the video before the last one should be the one to cover that. Go and celebrate. I would, but there's just some things going on, unfortunately, between there. So, unfortunately, I can't right now. But that's why people are so quick to judge, but they don't even know what's going on. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because these are all just made up holidays. Like, every day you should try to be with your mother, or every day, like, after working or whatever, like, you should always try to maybe contact your mom or say hi to someone or give thanks to someone or just have that, try to make that time for them all the time. It shouldn't just be a specific day where you're like, oh, this is the only day I'm gonna make this time for them, and then buy them a bunch of Hallmark bullshit and things like that. You know what I mean? And also it's just sometimes people got some things going on. So yeah, that's why don't be so quick to judge, my friend. What do you say? My hair is actually my hair's not dirty at all. I wash my hair every about 3-4 days. I wash it. Sometimes I'll just do a cold water rinse, and then I'll do a wash. or depending on like if I go to the gym and something, like I'll make sure to really get in there. But I use really great shampoos. I got everything right here in the back if you want to see it too. But and I don't go to the salon. I just do my own hair and just let it rock out, you know. So, but this video is not about my hair. It's not about none of that. It's about freaking covering the Old Testament and things like that, you know. So, let's see if I got it. But this is one of my shampoos that I've used. I just have it in a bag so it don't get all like spilled out. You see, but it's the She Moisture with the shea butter, apple cider vinegar, like really great shampoo, especially for more curly hair. But all right, I'm getting off topic because these comments. I'm being an idiot. All right, hold on, I gotta fix my pants real quick. I don't know, something crazy. All right, okay. But all right, let's jump back into this again. We're just gonna cover some things, give my perspective on it. Definitely would love to hear your guys' perspective. But yeah. So let's see where we last leave off. Okay. So we left off at Sodom and Gomorrah like destroyed basically. Or well, the start of that. We left off where Abraham pleads for Sodom, and then we read through that. And now we're gonna go over Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. So Solomon the two angels arrived at Sodom. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you could do what that's crazy, and you could do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under protection of my roof. Get out of our way, they replied. This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here, sons-in-laws, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we're going to destroy this whole place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his son-in-laws thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your daughters. Take your wife and your daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and of his two daughters, and led them safely out of the city. For the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. But Lot said to them, no, my lords, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness in me to spring in my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here's a town near enough. Here is a town near enough to run to. Let it and it is small. Whoops. Here is a town I'm sorry. Here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared. He said to him, very well, I will grant you this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly because I cannot do anything until you reach it. This is why the town was called Zor. Zor. By the time Lot reached Zor, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early in the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Lot and his daughters. Lot and his two daughters left Zor and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zor. He and his two daughters lived in a cave. One day the older said to the younger, our father is old and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom. You know what I'm kind of getting from so far from like this story, or from a lot of these stories, because this is what mostly Genesis is about. It's about the fall of man and their breakaway from God, and then their refinding of God and making a new covenant with God, and basically it's like all of the good people from all these different places and times and parts or whatever all end up leaving what is so bad and so wicked and so evil, and all the evilness and wickedness that stays behind gets destroyed, and all of these good things or these good people that leave the evil and the wicked behind and just come together as people of goodness or people of God are the ones that end up making a new covenant, and the ones that end up trying to live a better way and promote a better way, and basically it's just showing you like all these evil wicked ways of living, and stepping away from God and beginning this wicked journey will only lead to your destruction. Where if you step away from the wickedness and you try to enter back into like a place of what the garden was like and how people were like before the fall of man, and you or even if you make a new covenant but you find a way to just make a covenant with God and be a good person and do good things and live righteous, that you will have a prosperous life and you will be blessed, and you will be removed from the evil and the wickedness, and you will end up where you're meant to end up. And then some of these stories show that some of them are doing good and then they end up falling again, but it shows you that fall and rise and fall and rise and fall and rise of stepping away, coming back, stepping away, coming back from God, basically, and how many times it happens, and over and over again, and people just keep repeating and making the same mistakes, but there's always those group of people who are they do learn, they do evolve, they do grow, they do realize the potential they have, the consciousness that they have, and they're the ones to leave and to start anew and to make things right again, and maybe that's what life is always going to be, maybe, because that is life. Life is never always going to be positive. There's always going to be ups and downs, smiles and frowns, good times, bad times. Nothing lasts forever. But maybe when times get really bad, the good got to realize who they are and what they are, and they got to step away and let the wickedness and the evilness destroy itself while they begin anew somewhere else. And that's kind of like what I'm getting from a lot of these stories in Genesis. Like even though they each have their own little individual messages in between and their own little things that you could pull from them, the overall picture is pointing to that, basically, what I just said. So, like, that's just what I'm getting from it, and I think it's just a really good perspective. That's why it's just good to definitely know some of the old and some of the new, and just piece it all together, and have that full understanding. Again, that's my own perspective. I would love to hear your guys, but yeah, so let me just continue on, you know. He said, I want to check your hair. Bro, ignorant comments. I love my hair. shit. Where was I? Oh, I think I was here. Hurry and get out of his place. The Lord is. Oh no, wait. Oh, here we are. Yeah, Lot and his daughters. That's right. Lot and his two daughters left Zor and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zor. He and his two daughters lived in a cave. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old. There is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine, and then sleep with him and preserve a family line through our father." That's crazy. They're basically like, "Yo, let's drug and rape our dad." Like, the fuck? You know what I mean? See, now this is another fall. Like these, they were doing so good. God was blessing them. God was like, "Yo, I sent motherfuckers to get you off the land. I'm gonna take care of you. You know, like you are good people, so I'm not gonna destroy you. I'm gonna destroy the wickedness. Trust me. But you're good people, so I'm gonna make sure to warn you, and you're gonna get out. And then y'all do some dumb shit like this. Come on, man." That night they got their father to drink, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve a family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. Moab. And he is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son. She named him Ben Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. Abraham and Abimelech, Abimelech, something like that. Now Abraham moved on from there into the region of the Negev and lived between Kadesh and Shur. For a while he stayed in Gerar, and there Abraham said of his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." Then Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent for Sarah and took her. Damn, give me that beat. Yeah, my bad. Oh shit. It's raining. I gotta talk. Hold on real quick. I'm gonna be right back, stream. Okay. Sorry about that, stream. Sorry about that. It's starting to rain. I just had to warn my boy so he can come. He's gonna go roll up his windows. I'm about to do the same shit right now. But okay. I hope that didn't fuck up the stream or anything. I hope everything's still good. You know. Um. Oh yeah. But God came to. I'm gonna just call him Malik. God came to Malik in a dream one night and said to him, "You are as good as dead because of the woman you have taken. She is a married woman." Now Malik had not gone near her. So he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Did he not say to me, 'She is my sister'? And didn't she also say, 'He is my brother'? I have done this with a clear conscience and clean hands." Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know you did this with a clear conscience, and so I have kept you from sinning against me. That is why I did not let you touch her. Now return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you will live. But if you do not return her, you may be sure that you and all who belong to you shall die." Like, damn, yo, like, you could take this bitch back. I'm not fucking with it, basically, you know. Um, Early the next morning, Malik summoned all his officials And when he told them all that had happened, they were very much afraid. Malik called Abraham in and said, "What have you done to us? How have I wronged you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that should never be done." And Malik asked Abraham, "What was your reason for doing all this?" Abraham replied, "I said to myself, there is surely no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, though not of my mother, and she became my wife." That's so crazy, but and when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, "This is how you can show your love to me. Everywhere we go, say of me, he is my brother." Then Malik brought sheep and cattle and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham. He returned Sarah to his he returned Sarah, his wife, to him, and Malik said, "My land is before you. Live wherever you like." To Sarah he said, "I'm giving your brother 1,000 shekels of silver. This is to cover the offense against you before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated." Then Abraham prayed to God. God healed Malik, his wife, and his female slaves so they could have children again. For the Lord had kept all the women in Malik's household from conceiving because of Abraham's wife Sarah. Dang. Now the Lord was gracious to Sarah, as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham. In his old age, at the very time God had promised him, Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God commanded him. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah said, "God has brought me laughter, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me." And she added, "Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age." Hagar and Ishmael sent far, 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 far. Hagar and Ishmael sent away. The children grew, and he was weaned. And on the day Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a great feast. But Sarah saw that the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham was mocking. And she said to Abraham, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son, for that woman's son will never share in the inheritance with my son Isaac." The matter distressed Abraham greatly because it connected his son. Oh no, wait, because it concerned his son. But God said to him, "Do not be so distressed about the boy and your slave woman. Listen to whatever Sarah tells you, because it is through Isaac that your offspring will be reckoned. I will make the son of the slave into a nation also, because he is your offspring." Early in the next morning, Abraham took some food and a skin of water and gave them to Hagar. He set them on her shoulders and then sent her off with the boy. She went out on her way and wandered in the desert of Beersheba, Beersheba, Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she put the boy under one of the bushes. Then she went off and sat down about a bow shot away, for she thought, "I cannot watch the boy die." And as she sat there, she began to sob. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do you, do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. So she went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy as he grew. He lived in the desert and became an archer. While he was living in the desert of Paran, his mother got a wife for him from Egypt. Old Testament is so boring. Genesis is such a boring book to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, there's good lessons in it, and there's a broader understanding or valuable teaching, you know. But it's just a boring part of it. I guess it's the beginning, you know. I guess so. It's what it is. The treaty at Beersheba. At that time, Malik and Phicol, the commander of his forces, said to Abraham, God is with you in everything you do. Now swear to me here before God that you will not deal falsely with me or my children or my descendants. Show to me and the country where you now reside as a foreigner. The same kindness I have shown to you, Abraham said, I swear it. Then, oh wait, the same kindness I have shown to you, Abraham said, I swear it. Then Abraham complained to Malik about a well of water that Malik's servant had seized. But Malik said, I don't know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I heard about it only today. So Abraham brought sheep and cattle and gave them to Malik, and the two men made a treaty. Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs from the flock, and Malik asked Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs you have set apart by themselves? He replied, accept these 7 lambs from my hand as a witness that I dug this well. So that place was called Beersheba, because the two men swore an oath there. After the treaty had been made at Beersheba, Malik and Pickle, Fickle, the commander of his forces, returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba, and there he called on the name of the Lord, the eternal God. And Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for as long. Uh, and Abraham stayed in the land of the Philistines for a long time. I'm getting a little sleepy. I'm not gonna lie. Relax, you know. Some time later, God tested Abraham. He said to Abraham, "Here I am. Here I am. I am that I am. So here I am." He replied. Then God said, take your son, your only son whom you love, Isaac, and go to the region of Moriah. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering on a mountain I will show you. Early next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. So, alright, crazy shit here, right? So, this is a crazy fucking story, this part. And this story is basically about seeing how committed someone is to God and faithful they are to God. Because then he ends up calling it off, and he's like, "Nah, I was just bullshitting you. I just wanted to test you. You pass. There's a go right there. You're good. Like, don't kill your son." However, what's crazy is that the story also a lot of people say Ali represents like Christ in the New Testament, not specifically talking about maybe Jesus himself, but about the Messiah and what the Messiah would end up like how the Messiah would end up dying. And what I mean by that is like about Christ, he rode in on a donkey and all this stuff, and then he basically is carrying his own stuff to his own sacrifice, and then he becomes like and it's a father sacrificing his only begotten son and and for basically man like just for a covenant of some type of way with the Lord, you know, for himself, for man, for this, for that, like for all this shit. And it's just a really cool connection. So, but yeah, so early next morning, Abraham got up and loaded his donkey. He took with him 2 of his servants and his son Isaac. When he had cut enough wood for the burnt offering, he set out for the place God had told him. On the third day, Abraham looked up and sought the place in the distance. He said to his servants, "Stay here with the donkey, while I and the boy go over there. We will worship, and then we will come back to you." Abraham took the wood for the burnt offering and placed it on his son Isaac. A piece of wood placed on Isaac. Um, and placed it on Isaac. He he himself carried the fire and the knife as the two of them went on together. Isaac spoke up and said to his father Abraham, "Father." "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "The firewood are here," Isaac said. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering?" Abraham answered, "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my son." And the two of them went on together. When they reached the place God had told him about, Abraham built an altar there and arranged the wood on it. He bound his son Isaac and laid him on the altar, on top of the wood. Then he reached out his hand and took the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called out to him from heaven, "Abraham, Abraham." "Here I am," he replied. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," he said. "Do not do anything to him. Now I know that you fear God, because you have not withheld from me your son, your only son." Abraham looked up, and in a thick and there in the thicket he saw a ram caught by its horns. And then he sees a ram caught by its horns, its crown, in a thicket, which is like a thorn bush, you know. He went over and took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide." And to this day, on the mountain of the Lord, it will provide it. The angel, but what the hell is the original name? That's definitely like more of a translated name. Mm, let's see, 14. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Then Abraham returned to his servants, and they set off together for Beersheba. Wait, did I fully read that? Oh no, wait, I didn't. Hold on. So Abraham called that place, "The Lord will provide," and to this day it is said, "On the mountain of the Lord it will be provided." The angel of the Lord called to Abraham from heaven a second time, and he said, "I swear by myself, declare the Lord, that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possession of the cities of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed, because you have obeyed me." Again, showing obedience to God, showing respect to God, fighting off all these temptations and evilness and wickedness, and God will bless you. Sometimes He'll test you to do something bad, just to test you just in some weird way, but showing your loyalty, showing your respect, showing your appreciation, even if it's a test, he like sometimes like something really crazy happens, and it's a test to see how you may react, or how you may keep your faith. Like sometimes the craziest of situations, the most messed up of situations could occur, and sometimes it's a test of your faith to see how faithful you really are to the Lord. Like that's why some of these stories are metaphorical type stories where it's just about like such crazy shit. Like sometimes you have such bad days. Sometimes you go through such crazy shit, and sometimes it's a test of your faith. It's a test to see how much you really fear, love, respect, and have true faith in the Lord and God the Almighty. Because sometimes people they talk about following God, having faith in God, but then they go through such deep shit or such tough shit, and then their faith goes right out the window. They start saying God's bullshit. They throw it right out the window. So it really shows that they really didn't have faith. They really didn't have trust. They really don't believe in God like that, you know? So and that's why good things don't happen. But with enough faith, even in the toughest of times and the craziest of situations and craziest of scenarios, if you always obey and respect and praise and have faith in God, you will be blessed. And sometimes He gives you these tests where it seems like you might have to do something so crazy or you might have to whatever, but or you go through some shit that just like I said, test your faith. And it's just about seeing what your faith is about, you know? But yeah. Yo, what's up, dude? Yeah, I don't always be like streaming too much, you know? Just whenever I get the random feel to do so, you know? But yeah, so Genesis, like I said, like each story has its own little things like that. Like that one was maybe about testing faith and things like that, you know. But at the end of the day, it's mostly about the downfall of man and then the rise of man, the downfall, the rise, the downfall, the rise of just everywhere you go, all throughout time. There's always going to be good and bad. One sometime good will rise to the top, sometimes bad will rise to the top. But when the bad does get bad, the good have to stay good, keep their faith, remove themselves from the bad, go somewhere new, and begin anew, and make a new covenant with God and a new respect with God, and show people to have faith in God once again, and just create a whole new and begin a new journey until one day the cycle repeats, it gets really bad again, and then you just got to do the same thing again. And the wickedness and all the evilness that is left behind is going to be destroyed either by itself or some type of force of nature. It's just going to go away. It's going to be destroyed. It's evil. It's wicked. It's going to destroy itself. Basically, it's going to implode from the inside out. Whereas the good is going to be blessed, be warned. They're going to see what the evil is doing, the wicked is doing, and they're going to end up leaving and taking everything that is good with them, and beginning anew and trying to preach God again and hope for the best for the next time and the next generation. And it's just cycle after cycle. You feel me? Is the sun up in Jersey? It is, but it's just so cloudy right now, you know? Like it was beautiful yesterday for a bit, then it started raining, and now it's just cloudy all day today. But it's because we're in January, March, April, May. We're in May, you know. So like March, April, May, like the spring here, like it's always kind of on off, like rainy, sunny, rainy, sunny, rainy, sunny. You know, it's cloudy in Texas too. I guess it's just May weather, you know, or March weather. No, May. What the fuck am I saying? Just May weather, you know. I don't know what month we're in, but yeah. So I'm probably gonna do one more reading of something from the Old Testament, and then we're gonna switch over to the New Testament. But like I said, I'm gonna keep it all in the same video, you know. So let's see. Oh yeah, I'm so dumb. I was talking about like being tested in your faith and all that stuff, and the chapter, whatever, was literally called Abraham tested. So like, duh, like it says it right there. You see, but sometimes like overthinking things makes you overthink even the simplest of titles, the simplest of understandings, the simplest of what it's trying to portray to you. Sometimes because some people are so deep into it and so like they're trying to look so deep for a deeper meaning, a deeper message, and they're so into it. Sometimes they overlook some of the simple messages. Like sometimes everything's not that deep. Some things are, but some things aren't, and that's why like the messages, you know, sometimes you might have to look a little deeper. Sometimes it's right on the surface. That's why you can't always overlook. Sometimes you gotta remember to simplify yourself and simplify your mind to get the picture. Sometimes you might have to go more in depth, you know. Gotta be able to do both though. Um, so yeah, but then Abraham returned to his servants. They set off together. Bathsheba, Abraham stayed there. Now Nahor's son or something. Nahor. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Nahor's son. Sometime later, Abraham was told that Makai is also a mother. She had borne sons to you, or Mikhail is also a mother. She had borne sons to your brother Nahor. Uz, from the firstborn, was his brother. Kemuel, the father of Aram. Kes, Hazo, Philash, or Pelash, Jilaph, and Bethuel, Fuel, Thuel, Bethuel. Yeah, Bethuel. Okay. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Makor bore these 8 sons to Abraham. Uh, damn, I can't read this one. All these names are fucking me up. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Maka, 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 fuck, dude, I think I'm like struggling here right now. This is so bad. Where the hell are we? Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. Michal bore these 8 sons to Abraham's brother Nahor. His concubine, whose name was Ruma, also had sons: Tebet, Gaham, Tahash, and Makah. The death of Sarah. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died at Kirath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. He said, I am a foreigner and stranger among you. Sell me some property for a burial site. And here, so, sell me a, sell me some property for a burial site here, so I can bury my dead. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Sir, listen to us. You are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead. Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land. The Hittites had said to him, If you are willing to let me bury my dead, then listen to me and intercede with Ephron, son of Zor, or Zahar, on my behalf. So he will sell me the cave of Machpelah, Machpelah, I think, which belongs to him and is at the end of his field. Ask him to sell it to me for the full price as a burial site among you. Ephron the Hittite, Ephron the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hitters who had come to gate the city. No, my lord, he said, listen to me. I give you the field and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said, I'm getting really sleepy, holy shit. And he said to Ephron in their hearing, Listen to me, if you will. I will pay the price of the field. Accept it from me so I can bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, Listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. But what is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him the price he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver according to the weight current among the merchants. So Ephron's field in Machpelah near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of the field, was deeded to Abraham as his property in the presence of all the Hittites, who had come to the gate of in the presence of all of the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. I'm fucking like passing out. Yeah. But I'm gonna continue this. I'm definitely gonna continue this stream. I gotta stretch real quick. Oh, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Reading puts me down, like for sure. It's like not raining now. It was about to start raining and then it stopped. Okay, cool. Let's see. So yeah, so I'm gonna jump to the New Testament now, where we left off. The last time I was reading it with all of y'all, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we left off on these parables. Okay, I think we left off at the parables of the hidden treasure and the pearl, if I'm not mistaken. So we're gonna cover that. Okay. Even if I covered it already, we're just gonna cover it again and we'll go through. We'll make it work. Um, the parables of the hidden treasure and the pearl. Now this is the New Testament. We're in Matthew, like 13. What is this? 44, I think. If that's how you read that. Let me pull up the front windows at least, because it'd be loud. Okay. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then, in his joy, went and sold all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. So wait, hold on again. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again. Then, in his joy, went and sold it all he had and bought that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. Parable of the net. Once again, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down in the lake and caught all kinds of fish. When it was full, the fishermen pulled it up in the shore. Then they sat down and collected the good fish in baskets, but threw the bad away. This is how it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them in. Oh, I did read this part. I did read this part. Because, yeah, we were talking about. Yeah, the angels will come and separate the wicked from the righteous and throw them into the blazing furnace where there will be weeping, gnashing of teeth. Basically, this is saying that, because this was connected to the other stuff. This is basically saying that like same it's funny because this is so funny. This is so funny. This is so funny. We were covering what we talked about in the old about people leaving and whatever and this and that. And now Christ is basically saying here, this is so like you see what are the odds of this shit, man? This is God right here. So I was saying with the Old Testament, a lot of it was people leaving good, entering or people leaving the wickedness and the evilness behind, all the good people who realize that they're good and were blessed and they're going to be the ones to leave the wickedness is going to be destroyed and burn and kill themselves off or just somehow some way just be destroyed because it's evil, it's wicked, it's bad, it's eventually going to destroy itself basically, where the good is going to be the ones to to enter somewhere new, to begin a new way of life, to reconnect with God and to live in a place that is like heaven on earth, or just heaven itself, you know? And that's what he's saying here is that once again the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was let down where like all of the eventually by the end time when the end time comes, which is what we see happen in Genesis a bunch of times, the rise and fall, rise and fall, rise and fall, when the falling of man happens again and we're at the very end of it, and then eventually there's time for a new beginning where people are going to be done with that. Eventually all of the wicked and when it's time for a new beginning to occur, and either Christ comes back and takes all the good people up, or it's more of a metaphorical speaking saying that the good people are going to leave. Eventually what's going to happen is there's going to be a time where everything gets rounded up, the good get separated from the bad get tossed back and left behind, and the good are the ones that are chosen to be the ones that create anew and to live in heaven and stuff like that. And that's exactly what he's talking about with this right here. And that's insane. How the fishermen pulled up in the shore, they sat down, collected the good fish in the basket, threw the bad ones away, and this is how it will be in the end of ages, where the angels will come. They'll separate the wicked from the righteous, throw them into a blazing furnace, basically let them destroy themselves, let them stay in their hell, basically, where they will be weeping and gashing of teeth and just be living miserable until they destroy themselves. And then the rest will be in heaven and shit. And he's like, have you understood all these things? Jesus asked. Yes, they replied. He said to them, therefore, every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out of his storeroom new treasures as well as old. Therefore, every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out of his storeroom new treasures as well as old. Therefore, every teacher of the law, if y'all want to toss in what you may think of what that means, let me know, you know. Every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out of his storeroom new treasures as well as old. Meaning, like, I don't know, maybe those who teach, people that believe the law, who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven. Every teacher who is a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out his store with new treasures as well as old. Maybe it's saying like because they got to enter the kingdom of heaven, maybe it's saying like they they know of that old world and what it was like, and now they could preach about the new world and how it's like and just compare the old and the new, and their old treasures to their new treasures, and just I guess maybe you just have a lot more to offer, a lot more to teach, a lot more things like that, because not only did you live through that wickedness, but you were righteous enough to turn a new page and to experience this new chapter of life and offer these new teachings and these new treasures and these new understandings of how to be, because life is always evolving, you know, and there's always new covenants that come, but there's always old treasures that come. There's old treasures that teach you what you learned and what you knew in life that made you who you are. But there's always going to be new treasures and new covenants and new ways of life that evolve that are still good. They're just new ways, you know, and that's part of life. Things are new. And it's still good to keep some of the old ways and some traditions because you know you gotta respect that, and that's what made us who we are today. But it's also nice to embrace some of the new, and while you're in that new heaven, you can speak about all the things that made some of the old things great, but then some of the old things that were bad and what were wrong and stuff like that. Maybe that's how I'm taking it. You know, the kingdom of heaven is here now. I think so. You know, it always is. It's just if you choose to be in it, and I feel like that's something with Christ. Like a lot of people say, like when the Messiah comes, there's supposed to be peace amongst the people in the world, and that's why some people don't view him as the Messiah because there isn't peace. But if you decide to have him in your life and you decide to follow him in his footsteps and in his words and what he represented in the flesh, just like he said to, again, we're not always perfect, but if you try your hardest and you do your best and you try to live what you preach and not just speak it like a hypocrite, like a hypocritical, like how the Pharisees were at the time, you could have peace in your life because his words were about, like were about peace and shit like that. Even though he said he didn't come to bring peace, he came to divide people, basically. But in that sense, it's not that he came to divide them with hate and anger. He came to divide them with that who will the he came to divide the righteous from the unrighteous. Like who will follow him and truly live righteously and live it in the flesh, or who is going to be unrighteous and deny it and continue to live hypocritically and lost in the world and things like that. You know what I mean? And so that's why, like, if you have him in your life, I think then you do have peace in your life. If you truly know what it means to follow Christ and his kingly character and his words and things like that, then you know basically like what it means to, I don't know, I feel like have peace in your life and have peace in your world and just, have a good just experience here on earth, and that could be like your heaven, and then you could be in the kingdom of heaven right now. So yeah, if you, it's all about just what you choose to allow in your life and what you choose to have in your life, and if you choose to, like I said, have him and follow his word and follow his character in the flesh and how he walked, you try to walk that same way, you'll be living in heaven because you can make it heaven or hell. It's your choice. You feel me? Like that's why. Is there something after? Is there another place we go after we die? I have my faith that we do, and because I do believe energy doesn't get destroyed. But at the end of the day, for all we know is what we know here and what we experience. So make this your heaven because that kingdom of heaven is right now. This was given to us to enjoy. That's why we were given dominion over all things. I always come back to this. Like, this is our kingdom. This is for us to do the bidding in heaven, but here on earth to get to enjoy, to be able to come together and find wine and dine and wear cool clothes and make good music and eat good food and to live like how God would in his kingdom of heaven. Like to me, like that's how it means to be living. Like I feel like if God was living in his kingdom of heaven, that's the things he would be doing. He would be dressing nicely how he wants, listening to his good music, enjoying his life, living like a king in a castle, but righteously. You feel me? Not wickedly. And that's what this earth is about. Like we could all be living like that. But we're in such a wicked time and such wickedness and wicked system, Babylonian system. At the end of the day, I always call it Babylon because they're Rastafari faith, you know. And it's a very confusing system that we live in, you feel me? That is discipleship. Following Christ is discipleship. Yeah, I guess so. I never even thought about that. Yeah, I guess technically, because that's what his disciples were. They were followers of him who learned by him, sat with him, were preached to by him, studied with him, like all these things, and they followed his word and preached it, and that's basically what we try to do today. You know. So I fuck with that perspective because I didn't even, I never even thought about it like that until just now. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much. um, Where do we leave off? Up. A prophet without honor. When Jesus had finished these parables, he moved on from there. Coming to his hometown, he began teaching to people in their synagogue. And when they were amazed, where did this man? And when they were coming to his hometown, he began teaching to the people in their synagogue, and they were amazed. Where did this man get this wisdom and their miraculous power and these miraculous powers? They asked, "Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother's name Mary? And aren't his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Aren't his sisters wait, wait, aren't all his sisters with us? Where then did this man get all these things? And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his own town and his own home. And and he did not do many miracles there because of their lack of faith. A prophet is not without honor, except in his own town and his own home. Maybe I guess people that know you just kind of don't honor you, don't see the potential in you, maybe because they know you or they think they know you. They're like, how would you like what like who like how did you get all this? What like bro, you from here? Like how did you get this? How'd you do this? How'd you like? Ain't no way. Like this, that's definitely some bullshit, you know. And then also some of them are jealous. They're like, really? Like why him? I'm from the same place. Why couldn't it be me? Like him? You know, where people who don't know you, they don't know anything about you, so they can't really be like, but you're just this guy, you know? And if they don't know you and you're not from the same place as them, they're not as quick to be jealous, I feel like. You know what I mean? Because they're just like, oh shit, look at this dude. Like, what the fuck? You know, like, some people can, but yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, they so judgy, yo. Like, and I'm not saying that people who aren't around you can't be judgy. They can. But the ones that somewhat like see you around and so they just question you more. They're like, how did you what? Like what the fuck? Like and then they get a little jealous. Why wasn't it me? Like all this shit, you know? I gotta go into my settings real quick and shut off my Wi. Uh-oh. I think it did mess with stream. Uh-oh. My camera turned off. Can you hear me? Or no? Can you hear me? Hello? Check, 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 check. Can you see me or no? Said it's on. Can you see me or no? Or can you only hear me? Hello? Oh, okay, you can see me too? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. The camera's not showing on my end. So, but as long as y'all can see me, I guess we're chilling then, you know? Okay. I'm just plugging my phone into the charger real quick. I wonder what the hell happened. I'll do this. Let me see if I can fix it on my end real quick. What the? Yeah, no, damn. Alright, well, if you can see me, then screw it. I guess it is what it is. Okay, I'm just gonna pop this right up here. It's gonna kind of be on an angle though, because it's charging my phone. So if I'm on an angle, my bad. But yeah, so should I just start a new one? I'm just gonna, you know what? I'm gonna start a real quick new stream because I don't know. I hope this one, even though you can see me now, I hope it doesn't like glitch out with the recording or whatever. I'm gonna start a brand new one, so I'm gonna be right back.